Hey, it's Mr. Redstone, and in this video we're going to be solving some single variable word problems. With all of these, my setup is always going to be the same. I'm going to define what the variable represents, so I'm just not using a letter and have the reader have no idea what it means. And I'm going to do that with either a sentence or a diagram. Then I'm going to look for keywords and translate the English into math, solve the equation, and conclude with a sentence. This first example involves the perimeter of a rectangle. And you know that when it comes to a rectangle, you're looking for the width and the length. If you read carefully, it says that the length is twice the width. We didn't know what the width was. We called it W. So instead of writing L for the length, what I could do is write 2W. The other piece of information given here is the perimeter. It's 36. And you know that when you're finding the perimeter of a rectangle, you add 2 widths plus 2 lengths to get the perimeter. We don't want to work with 2 variables, though. That'll come later in algebra in a unit called systems of equations. So by having 2 letters, that just adds a lot more confusion. So instead of writing L, we could write what L is. The length is 2 times the width. So look carefully. We have 2 times W, 2 widths, plus 2 times 2W, 2 lengths. And now we can combine our like terms, use inverse operations, and we'll be able to find the width. It looks like it's going to be 6 centimeters. If you want to get the length, you double it to get 12 centimeters. And a lot of students will stop here. They think, I'm done, I've answered the question. But that's where the concluding sentence can save you. If you look carefully, it's asking you, what is the area? The way you find the area of a rectangle is to multiply the length and the width. 6 times 12. Is this the only way you could have done this question? No. You could have worked in terms of the length, and instead of carrying W all the way through, used L. And then for the width, you could have said, well, that's just half the length. But I know that most students don't like working in fractions, so it's probably easier to solve it the way we did. Number 2, a number doubled plus a number tripled is 100. Well, if I'm going to start throwing around letters, I need to tell the reader what the letter means. In this case, X. X is going to be our number. A number doubled means you're going to multiply it by 2, plus a number tripled. That means we're going to multiply our number by 3, and that's going to equal 100. Pretty straightforward. We combine our like terms, divide both sides by 5, and we see that our number is 20. But again, it's important to read and make sure you're answering what the question asks. It's saying, what is the square of our number? The square of our number is going to be 20 to the power of 2, or 20 times itself. The square of our number is going to be 400. Number 3, find 3 consecutive numbers such that twice the first plus the third is 56. Before we attempt this problem, you have to know what a consecutive number is. Consecutive numbers could be 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 10, 11, 12, but they could also be negative numbers. Negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, or negative 10, negative 9, negative 8. The problem is we don't know where our sequence starts. So that's what we're going to define as X. X is going to be the first number in our list. The next number is going to be one more than that. Don't make the mistake of saying Y is the second number and Z is the third number. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you start having 3 variables. We just know that X plus 1 would be the second, and X plus 1, or X plus 2, would be the third number. So now that we've defined our variables, we're going to read carefully to set up the equation. It says twice the first, so the first number is X. Twice that would be 2X. Plus the third, that would be X plus 2. And that sum is going to equal 56. Now that we've set it up, we can combine our like terms, use inverse operations, and we will determine what x is. And this is why it's important to define your variables. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you just what this letter means. X is the first number. The question was asking you for 3 consecutive numbers. Since we know the first number, we can get the next number by adding 1, and the third number by adding 2. Our numbers are 18, 19, and 20. Number 4. 2 numbers differ by 12. Twice the larger decreased by 40 is 6 times the smaller. Whew. And again, it might be easy to think, well, I've got 2 numbers, a and b. But it's important you keep it to a single variable. If 2 numbers differ by 12, we could just say that x is the small number. And if they differ by 12, it means the bigger number would have to be 12 more, or x plus 12. Now we've defined what our variables are, and we've defined what our 2 numbers are represented by. Now we can look at the rest of the sentence and figure out the equation that matches this scenario. Twice the larger number, so 2 times x plus 12, decreased by 40, so we're going to take that quantity and subtract 40, is, it's another word for equal, 6 times the smaller number. We define the smaller number as x. Now that we've set it up, we can solve. We're going to distribute, combine our like terms, and then use inverse operations to get all of the x's on one side and constants on the other. So 2x minus 16 is 6x. I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. Therefore, negative 16 is equal to 4x, or x is equal to negative 4. And x represented our smaller number. Our larger number is going to be 12 more. Watch your integer operations, but 12 more would be 8. The question asked you, what is the smaller number? So you can conclude with a simple sentence, the smaller number is negative 4. And again, this is not the only way you could have set up this question. You could have said that x was the larger number, and then said the smaller number was x minus 12. The equation would look different, but you'd get the same result. So number 5, it says find 3 consecutive odd numbers where twice the first increased by the third is 43. Well, here's some examples of 3 consecutive odd numbers. You'll notice that odd numbers are separated by 2. But we don't know the first odd number. If we can figure out the first odd number, we can get the other ones by adding 2, or 4. So x is the first odd number. X plus 2 is your second odd number. My is kind of looks like a ditto mark, so let's update that. X plus 2 is going to be the third odd number. So again, don't get thrown off here by the fact that we're adding 2, but we're looking for odd numbers. All odd numbers in a number line are separated by an addition of 2. Now that we've defined what our 3 numbers are, we can set up the equation. Twice the first, so 2 times x, increased by the third. Our third number was x plus 4 equals 43. And if we solve this equation, we will determine x, the first odd number. So 3x plus 4 is 43, or 3x equals 39. X is equal to 13. Now we know what our first odd number is. We can determine our second, our third, etc. X plus 2 is going to be 15. X plus 4 is going to be 17. And that will answer our question. The numbers are 13, 15, and 17. So remember, define your variable, set up your equation, solve, and make sure you conclude with a sentence to make sure you've answered the question. Thanks for watching. See you next time.